High school was the
Worst time of my life.
I look back at high school fondly, not because of the hours I spent studying, because of my packed schedule, or because of the terrible social life I had, but I look back because it was a learning experience for my life. I grew so much, and I wanted to look back at these years that I spent and share my tips for everybody else out there so they don't have to learn and suffer through the things that I had to go through. Welcome class to High School 101 with yours truly, Professor M. Now, number 1, a good academic life and a good social life are not mutually exclusive. In high school, I saw myself as a hustler. I was doing everything that I could in terms of amping my resume because my entire goal was to get into a good college. I would be doing all these clubs, I would be doing all these activities, but because I saw myself as this person who was dedicated to academics, I never truly developed myself socially the way that I wanted to. I didn't prioritize social life. I prioritized all my academics. But looking back at high school and sort of transitioning from freshman year into senior year, I realized more and more that I could balance social life and academic life quite easily. The main factor was that I simply thought that academic life had to be purely academic, when in reality there's so much fun to be had in just doing clubs and being dedicated to certain clubs, because one, there's trips that all these clubs go on. For example, speech and debate, we would go into different invitationals, we would go to state competitions, we would even go to different regional competitions at different colleges. All these activities made room to socially interact with others and to make great friends through high school, and if I took the opportunity to see those more as a time to build lasting friendships, then I think I would have been better off. Of course, I did have friends, I did have classmates that I talked to regularly in high school, but I prioritized academics so much that I put myself on a pedestal and said that I was too good to deal with social interaction or too good to deal with the gimmicks of making friends. But in reality, having strong friendships and having things to look forward to not only helps myself to do well in terms of the work that I actually have to do, but it really just enhances my life in general. Second is school air. School air is a phenomenon where I would go to school and would get super oily skin. This is a huge phenomenon that I found online, and I found some pretty good solutions. The first thing that I would do is just moisturize my skin every morning. So I always just go for moisturizing my skin, because if my skin is too dry, then obviously it's sending a message that it needs to be moisturized. But if the skin is too oily, it honestly also just sends a signal that it's too dry and thus overproducing oil to make up for the fact that it's dry. So by putting moisturizer in either situation, I think that I helped myself to deal with the overproduction of oil that would happen at school, but also the reasoning behind why school air seems to make skin oily is because that school environments tend to be high stress environments. Whenever I would go to school, I would often be sleep deprived, I would often be stressing about academics, I would often be in class doing tests, stressing about what assignments I have to do next. All of that contributed to a very high level of stress in school. And if I didn't take the time to relax, or if I didn't take the time to sleep very well, I think that really amped up the effect of school air, and I think it would make my skin super oily. But by taking the time to get the right amount of sleep, by taking the time to take a break, to wash my face, to moisturize, that in retrospect would have played a large effort in getting rid of school air's effects on my skin. And now I don't really deal with it, but it's different in high school when I'm forced to be sitting in the same building for hours on end, and I don't really have a break to go home or do stuff outside of school. Also, as a short-term solution, blotting patches are things that can be bought online to soak up oil from the skin. And I've seen students use that before in my high school. I think that would be a pretty good short-term solution, but I think in the long term, moisturizing effectively and just trying to reduce stress in that environment is the best solution. Number 3, go to bed. Sleep is so underrated. I say it in literally every academic advice video I make, but sleep is literally the foundation of the day. I would go to school so sleep deprived, and I would be sleeping on the bus there. I would wonder why I hated high school so much. I know that a lot of the times high school starts super early, so it's against the circadian rhythm of young people to wake up so early, but honestly, if that's the situation and we can't change it, then we just have to push through it and adjust the sleep schedule. During the pandemic, I took the time, I tried waking up earlier, and I managed to wake up at 5 a.m. because I wanted to, and if I just took the time to readjust my sleep schedule so that I could wake up at an earlier time and do my homework without procrastinating so much, then I feel like I would have definitely had enough time to just go to sleep. Again, a lot of the times too, staying after school for clubs can make a huge difference in the amount of time I have left. So I think just prioritizing what work I have to do at a certain amount of time would allow me to finish my work effectively and then get enough sleep, get enough hours. Particularly, I would aim for 9 so that I would have the energy to get through the school day, to not be stressed, to not produce all that oil on the skin, and to just make sure I'm having as great of an experience as possible. Also, when I slept better, I learned better because I would actually pay attention in class and I wouldn't be drowsing asleep in class. I know it was hard for me a lot of the times too because it's very uncomfortable when I was lacking sleep and I was forced to sit in an uncomfortable chair. My body would start getting very shaky. Getting enough sleep is just something that saved me from being super uncomfortable during class. I look back and wish I had prioritized it more. Number 4, this is more of a regret, but I wish that I went to the gym more and counted calories more consistently. The steps to gain muscle and achieve an ideal physique would be to 1, lose fat, and 2, gain muscle. So just by simply working out more consistently, which I did do pretty well in high school, but specifically strength training and finding a program that didn't waste so much time going to the gym, one that minimized the amount of time in a sort of realm of minimalist training, and also just taking the time to actually count calories consistently so that I could keep track of what I was putting in my body would have made the biggest difference in my health. I swam a lot in high school, so a lot of the times I really didn't have to count calories because I would still look relatively skinny, but honestly looking back, I didn't really have that much muscle. I did go to the gym, but if I had went earlier, if I'd started around 9th grade and I was consistent, the gains that I would have saw would have been exponentially better than the state that I'm in at this moment. Also, for weight loss in general, if weight loss is a goal, which it was in the past for certain periods of my life, counting calories is literally the easiest way to lose weight. At least it has been for me. It may be different for different people, but just by tracking my maintenance calories and eating below my maintenance calories and weighing myself every day, I've been able to lose a substantial amount of weight. And by going to the gym during that routine and eating enough protein, I feel like I have been able to maintain the muscle that I have gained while going to the gym. So it's really simple. A lot of people make it way more complicated than it has to be, but it really is just that, counting calories and maintaining a routine of going to the gym to do strength training. Number 5, this goes back into the realm of social life, but I wish I initiated more stuff with friends, whether it be dinners, activities, doing stuff on the weekends, trips. In high school, I was so busy that I gave myself the excuse that I didn't have the time to be social. And I also had this big dilemma in my life where I would worry about being the initiator, being the one to start things. But I don't really see the fault in being an initiator in friendships. If we just wait for things to come to us, a lot of people just won't take the time to initiate things, and it's a rare find to find someone who initiates things and respects you and your time the way that you wish to be treated. So taking the time to simply initiate and reach out to people, a lot of the times they're willing to do it, and I don't really see the fault in putting the first step in initiating things. But if I did want to initiate things with a group of people, what I would do, I would just reach out to one person, and then once I had one person on board at least, I would reach out to more people or the group chat and say, me and this person are doing this at this time, let's go do this. And I think my social life would have been exponentially better in high school if I just took the initiative in that sense. Number 6, nobody cares about you in high school. So do whatever you want. When I was in high school, I was so self-conscious, and I'm sure so many people watching this relate. High school is a time of growth, it's a time of development, it's a time of dealing with hatred, of dealing with people who are mean, of navigating life, and just figuring out what to do with yourself. So a lot of the times I didn't really feel confident, and there was times where I was so scared to just do some basic stuff. There was this pink hem shirt that I got from a clothing store one day, and it was a little different from a t-shirt, but it is basically just a glamorized t-shirt. I was so scared to wear it to school. I thought everybody would look at me like I was avant-garde, like I was the tip tier of fashion in high school. But I was literally so scared to wear it. I was so scared to even look at people when I was walking around school. But literally nobody cares about you. Nobody cares about what I wore. Nobody cares about what I did. It's so easy to think about the spotlight effect and think that, oh, if I make this fashion choice, or if I do this with my hair, or if I do this with my body or whatever, that people are gonna care. But honestly, nobody really cares. If you want to wear something, if you want to do something, do whatever you want. Just be within reason, and nobody should bat an eye about the things that you do. Number 7, nobody cares about you again, but this time, nobody cares about when you talk about yourself. In other words, when I was doing interactions through text or through group chats, a lot of times I would say something related to what I just did in class or what I would just say because we would text during class, but nobody would respond a lot of the times because if I would simply talk about myself, nobody really cares about the actions that you do yourself. I could text a group chat and I could say something about myself, but why would anyone want to respond to that? What does it have to do with them? What do they care about that? Unless it's something that was tangentially related to them, then maybe that would get a response or a text out of that person. But if I just expect expected some response after saying something that I did that wasn't particularly humorous, I wouldn't get a response, obviously. So the thing that I wish I knew is that if I wanted to get some sort of reaction or to get some sort of approval from other people, for example, in a group chat setting, it's often best to talk about other people and particularly to admire or compliment other people, never to criticize other people. And on the same note, in social interactions, it's always better to look at the other person for ideas to talk about. In other words, if you want to talk about your trip that you took this summer, you can ask the other person about what they did in the summer. And then I could tangentially talk about that trip if I really wanted to. But honestly, I think it's way more important to prioritize listening to the other person and asking questions about their life, because then that person is going to feel so much more heard and they're going to like hanging out with me better if I were to just prioritize them and the experiences they have. Number 8 is dealing with your ops or your bullies. I used to have situations, not terrible situations, but there would be like minor bullying that I had to deal with in middle school or elementary school. In high school, not so much because people tended to be more mature. The biggest piece of advice I would have for myself in terms of people who are bullying you or seemingly criticizing you publicly is to simply look at that person with pity, because most of the time they're either projecting their own insecurities or they're just dealing with home life issues that make them want to lash out, and it really just makes me sad for that person. Even though that person is maybe dealing with that, it doesn't give them an excuse to lash out to other people. So if that is an occurrence that is happening, I would honestly just reach out, talk to your parents about that situation, ask them for advice on the specifics, or reach out to a higher up if your parents know what to do and see the advice that they give in that situation. Again, a lot of these situations are context dependent. It could be going on in social media, it could be going on in school. It doesn't really happen as often outside of high school because you don't see the same people every day. So just try to reach out and talk about how to solve that situation with other people. Number 9 is to enjoy my youth while it lasts. I look back at high school and I remember how stressed I was. I was always doing so much work and pushing myself. I really admire my past self for doing that much work and hustling that much in high school, but I also wish that I just took the time to relax more and to live life. When I was in my high school years, that was the prime time to just fool around, not worry about the future. But as I get older, I think about new things. I think about the future of my life as it gets closer and closer to the adult world. And I really just know that it goes by so fast. In high school, I just wish I took the time to slow down, to relax, to just live life and not worry. And I feel like my 80-year-old self would also tell that to myself right now. Again, I would just tell myself to relax more. And number 10, you won't see many of your high school friends again, but you should take the effort to keep the friendships that you did enjoy. In other words, high school has so many different people that you see on the daily basis of classes, sports, clubs, other activities. I would see so many people, but right after high school, we all go our separate ways. We go to college, and I do occasionally see people from high school when I go back home during break, when everybody goes back home from college. But for the majority of the time, I never really see many of the people that I hung out with in high school unless I intentionally make an effort to try to keep the friendships and the relationships that I had in high school. So I would honestly tell myself to just make the most of the friendships that I had in high school, to make sure that I kept the relationships that I did want to last. And I think I did make a good effort of this senior year or my last year of high school, and continuing the friendships that I did want to have continued and maintained. So just whenever there's a free occurrence, I would just recommend to myself to reach out to people that I want to hang out with in high school when we were both in the same area. And it would be nice to just catch up, discuss life, and see how things have been going. So now that you're equipped with the knowledge that I wish I had when I started high school, I know you're going to succeed. I know you're going to do amazing in high school. Wish you all the best. Thank you so much for watching, and be sure to comment what your favorite high school memory is. Be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.